It's really, really sunny today, so I apologise if I'm squinting, but the sun is literally like right in front of me. Luckily it's not like on me to the point where you can't see me, but it's like there and it's blinding me, so I apologise if I'm squinting, but I'll try not to. Nonetheless, let's ignore that and get on with today's video. Today I am going to be doing another one of those incoherent book babble things about a book that I have recently finished. The twist today though is that I'm going to try and make it a little bit more coherent, because for a change I've actually written down my thoughts on this book. So the book that I recently finished is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I say recently, it was a little while ago now, but I'm only now getting around to filming this. But this book really inspired me to try and put together some coherent thoughts and opinions and almost like a review. It inspired me to actually try and make some sense of what I thought of it and write it down. So for a change, I've actually written down my opinions in this little notebook, and my opinions came to 6 pages. I wrote 6 pages of thoughts on this book because it was so thought-provoking. When I put it down, I couldn't just say, oh, that was good, and move on, because I was so hooked into the story. When I finished it, I thought, okay, I need to do something about this. I need to write down what I'm thinking. I need to pull some questions out that I have. I need to think about why these characters were so special, and that's what I did in here. So hopefully I'll be able to make this not as incoherent as every other book babble I have done. I suppose the first thing to do is, if you aren't aware of what this book is about, I'll just give you a quick overview. This book follows the story of Blue Sargent, who is a teenage girl brought up in a family of psychics. And you can tell from that if you were up in a family of psychics, your life isn't going to run smoothly. There's going to be some weird stuff going on. And from a very young age, Blue has been told that if she kisses her true love, he will die. So Blue spent her entire life avoiding boys, avoiding kissing people for the fear of killing them. But this is the year that everything changes for Blue, and she meets a group of boys, the Raven Boys, and kind of gets dragged into their life. The blurb of the book, just the 2 little bold points, say, this is the year that everything will change for Blue. This is the year that she will fall in love. And I think the blurb doesn't do the book justice, because it focuses too much on Blue's love life and the romance element, and really that's not the main thing in this book. On the greater scale of things, Blue's love life really isn't that important. It's way more about the quest and the journey and the friendships that develop. So maybe the blurb needs rethinking on this one, but if you pick this up expecting a YA romance, that's not what you're gonna get. So yeah, Blue meets the Raven Boys, and before she does that, she has this sort of prejudice against the Raven Boys that they are rich, wealthy, arrogant boys, because they go to Angletonby private school, which has the Raven on the uniform, which is where they get the name the Raven Boys. But when she does meet them, she finds out that that isn't entirely true, and she gets dragged into their friendship group and into their quest to find a dead Welsh king. And along with that quest and the building of the friendships with those boys, she gets dragged into a lot of weird stuff and a lot of magic, and her psychic family kind of gets involved, and it's all a bit weird. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't want to give you too much more information than that if you haven't read it, and if you haven't read it, oh my god, you should. Hands down, I know it's only February, hands down the best book I've read this year. Granted, that isn't that many, but absolutely 5 stars. I loved this book way more than I was anticipating on. I couldn't immediately pick up the second one because I didn't have it at the time. I've got it now, I'm gonna get into that really soon. But I needed to think about it and digest it and put my thoughts together, and it was just so thought-provoking and confusing, but in a really positive way. Does that make any sense? I don't know if that makes any sense, but 5 stars. Amazing. I loved it. Everything about it was just so, not realistic because it was magic, but could be realistic. Do you know what I mean? I would have to admit that with the first 3-4 chapters I was a bit this isn't picking up as quick as I would have liked it to, but after I got past those first few chapters I was absolutely hooked. Hooked. Really hooked. Can I say hooked any more times? I couldn't put it down. The suspense was just growing and growing, and towards the end I think my heart was in my mouth There were a lot of things happening in this book that like didn't have an explanation and just kind of like popped up from nowhere, and I think that was part of the reason that I was so hooked. Like, I had all these ifs and what, who and whys in my head, and I needed to keep going because I needed answers. And to a certain extent I got them, but I need to read the rest of the series, obviously, because there is one big old question at the end of this that is still bugging me. I still need to know about it, but I've got the other books to go. But there is one big old question that you can't leave this book and not read the others, because like, I need to know the answer to that one question. But alongside that, the other thing that I think made this so enjoyable and so gripping is the characters. Like, the characters are all so lovable and interesting and intriguing and mysterious. Like, each character's like got their own thing going on. No one's kind of brushed over. Everyone's got something that you need to know more about. Like, none of these characters are simple. They're all quite complicated and complex, and you want to know more about them and you want to understand why they are the way they are, and I'm hoping that that is explored in the other books as well, because I have a lot of questions about the characters and I feel like I need to dig deeper into their layers and like understand them more, and I'm excited to do that because I love them as characters. They're just brilliant characters. So in terms of the Raven Boys, you've got Gansey, Adam, Ronan and Noah, and as I say, each of them have their own like issues going on, and I think Blue kind of discovers that, and she discovers that they're not just the arrogant Raven Boys that she was expecting. Like, they are humans and they have things going on in their life. Isn't all just money and flashy cars and big houses and stuff. And she slowly starts to like get to know them and their problems. Let's start with Adam, for example. Adam has some family issues going on and he's very stubborn, and kind of too stubborn to admit that he's got the problems, and he's kind of wound up in his own pride and he won't accept anything. He won't accept anything from anyone else because he's too like wound up in himself and his own pride and doing things his own way, that he won't like acknowledge that he does sometimes need that help. And when people offer him that help, he's a bit like mean about it. He thinks that it's an insult to be offered help. I won't go too much into it because it does play a big role in the book, I think, but yeah, he's kind of got that complexity within him. Gansey, I think, has some sort of personality issues going on, because on one hand he kind of plays the role of the arrogant Raven Boy. Like, he puts on this front of, yes, I'm rich and I go to this private school and my family's really wealthy and I have a car and a big house and stuff. He kind of puts on that front and comes across as quite arrogant, but sometimes like he lets it slip and you can see more of what he really is. And he's got like so much passion inside him that he just doesn't let out when he's got that mask on, but it's all in there. And I think he does get people to struggle to see past that front. Like, once he's had it on, it's difficult to get people to like break it down to see who he is, and I think that's more that's gonna be explored later, like getting people to see past this front that he puts on. I don't want to talk about Noah's issues because that is like a big point in this, and oh my god, all I can say about that. And similarly with Ronan, I'm still not really too sure what's going on with Ronan, but there's like a family issue. His father passed away and Ronan is struggling with his family, struggling with school, struggling with himself, and just generally struggling. And I think there's a lot more to be discovered with Ronan at this point. He is currently the character with the most like mystery around him at this point for me. Like, in the next book I'm wanting there to be a lot more focus on Ronan, I think. But despite all their issues and their complexities and how difficult they are, they all get along so well and they kind of glue together and help each other, hold each other together, and it's just a beautiful group dynamic. And the way that Blue then fits into that is just like perfect. I think at one point in it there's a quote from Gansey, I can't remember it, but he says something along the lines of, the thing that was missing from them was Blue, and when Blue slots in, it's like the group is like complete. And I think it's just like friendship goals, really. This little group of them. I absolutely devoured this book. As I say, the first 3 chapters were a bit but after that I just ate it up and couldn't wait to get my hands on the second one. This book now holds a place dear in my heart for how much it has inspired me and how much it's like made me think. 5 stars, fantastic, recommend, 10 out of 10. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. Oh my god, you need to read it if you haven't read it. I'm gonna leave it at that for the spoiler-free side because I have many thoughts that I need to discuss and I don't want to spoil anyone that hasn't read it. So if you haven't read it, please go and read it. It's so good. You will not regret picking this up at all. Go do it and then come back for the second half. But if you have read it, continue watching and I'm gonna ooze my thoughts and feelings and stuff. Are we all in the correct places? Fantastic. So obviously from the very beginning of this book it was stated that Blue and Gansey will fall in love. Like, she saw his dead, well not his dead body, but his soul on the ley line because he's going to die in the next 12 months. And Blue as a non-seer will only see him if she either kills him or is his true love. And we know from Blue's previous prophecy that she's gonna kill her true love. So she's gonna fall in love with Gansey at some point. And throughout the whole thing I was kind of waiting for that to happen and it didn't. Like, we leave this and there's like no romance between them. So I was kind of a bit like, where is it? But there are 3 more books. So I'm kind of predicting now that this romance between Blue and Gansey isn't gonna be like a snap of a finger thing. Feeling it's gonna be a lot slower, which I'm into. Like, I like the fact that just because she knew that he was the one that she was gonna fall in love with, she didn't just do it willy-nilly, you know? Like, she's still not in love with him, even though she knows that she will be eventually. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like that it didn't just happen and that I'm still waiting for it. And so's she. And so's he. Because after that vision in the tree, he must know it as well, right? Because when they were in like the vision tree and he saw the vision of him stroking her face or something, or asking to kiss her or something, like, he must know it as well. I'm excited to see like how their little romance unfolds, but there's so much more that I'm waiting to see as well. Like, as I say, the romance I don't think plays that big of a role in this. Like the blurb says it does. I don't think it does. What do you think? I like that where there's left with them two is that Blue's still kind of getting to know that more passionate and selfless side of him, like without the mask that he puts on. She's still like getting to know that. She's starting to see that like facade crack a bit. I'm really enjoying how she's slowly but surely getting to know the real him. I hate to admit it, but there's something that I really don't like about Adam, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know why. I just have a bad feeling about him. And I don't know why, because obviously at the end he like makes that sacrifice. I'll get to that in a minute. And him and Blue at this point, like, he is Blue's love interest. Like, they're kind of holding hands and stuff and being cute. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to not like him. I feel like I'm not supposed to not like him. But there's just something about him that I'm not feeling entirely. And I can't work out what it is. I didn't like how, I'm gonna put this down now, because you know what book I'm talking about. I didn't like how accusational he was towards Gansey. Like, when Gansey tried to help him with his family situation and saying like, look, you need to get out because your dad's gonna kill you, he took it like totally the wrong way, and he was just accusing Gansey of being like, oh, you just want all of your things in one place. Like, Gansey was never trying to take possession of him, or at least I didn't feel like he was. So my camera just overheated and died, and I can't remember where it was. As I said, the sun is really bright and the sun was shining on it, and I think it just got too hot and just shut down. But I think I was saying Adam took Gansey's offer of help of being like possessive and stuff, and I don't think Gansey was trying to take ownership of Adam. I just think Adam took it the wrong way completely. We'll see how that unfolds, I guess. Let's go back onto Ronan. I said there's like a lot left to be discovered with him. Like, I feel like not a lot was unraveled about his life, other than when, I can't remember which one of Blue's family members it was that touched him. Was it Calla? Was it Calla that touched him and was like, oh, you know a secret to do with your father's death or something? Huh? Like, what? That needs to be explained at some point. And the last line in the book was delivered from Ronan, and that was like, I plucked her from my dreams. I took Chainsaw out of my dreams. Huh? Chainsaw is obviously the raven that he's like adopted. I guess now would be a good time to tell you I took Chainsaw out of my dreams. I just plucked her out of his head? What? Confused, and something is definitely going on with that bird. Like, what? And also, Ronan clearly has some like mental problems that he needs help with. And Gansey is trying to help because Gansey is a good guy. Moving on now to Noah. Okay, so when we first met Noah, I knew there was something different about him to the others. Like, the way he was presented, like the way he held himself, the fact that he was always cold and his room was always spotless, and he never actually attended any classes at school. He was quiet, he didn't communicate as much as the others did. He would like disappear and just like pop up in places that people didn't know he was there. Like, there was definitely something going on about him, but I didn't expect him to be a ghost. That wasn't what my brain was thinking. When Gansey and Blue found the dead body and found out it was Noah, I was like, oh, gotcha? What? Like, I knew something was up, but I wasn't expecting it to be that. And then they went back and confronted Noah about it. Then Noah got all weird, like you would if someone found out you were dead, I suppose. When it kind of settled in for the characters, I thought it kind of settled in with me as well. And I was like, actually, yeah, that does make so much sense. Like, looking back on it all. Like, the connection that him and Blue had as well, like, that kind of made more sense. Because obviously Blue's kind of got this psychic family line and a way with the dead. And she's got this, like, excess energy that other things feed off of. And the way that, like, Noah was, like, more present when he was around Blue, and, like, the way he would ruffle her hair and stuff. And he would, like, kind of feed off her energy a little bit, but not, like, too much to drain her. So I liked the Noah-Blue connection thing, and it made more sense when he was dead. So I suppose from Noah, the natural line would then be to talk about Whelk. And again, from the first introduction of him, I knew something was up. Like, I didn't trust him at all. He just had this, like, weird atmosphere about him, and I didn't trust it, and I didn't trust him, I didn't trust the way he spoke to people, and in my notes I've got something shady's going on. He was like way too hung up on the past and his past wealth and how he lost his riches and he lost his fancy car and his family lost their private chef and stuff. He was just way too self-obsessed for anything good to come of that at all. And I feel like the reason that he was hung up on this like magic in the ley lines and getting his power was completely selfish. All he wanted it for was to get his wealth back. And, you know, he didn't deserve any of that at all. So I suppose the fate that he reached at the end, he completely deserved. So no, wasn't feeling him. I kind of like the end that he reached. I think another thing that I really loved about this book was how like wonderful and beautifully written Cabeswater was. Like, it was so sensual. Like, I could almost like smell it and feel it. Like the damp inside the trees and stuff. Like, I could kind of feel the damp air and that sort of wet wood sort of smell. Like, it was all so real. And that is just, you know, that's Maggie's writing. This is the first Maggie Stiefvater book I've read, and the way her writing comes to life is like insane. Like, I could feel it, I could see it. Everything about it was so fantastically written. Like, I couldn't fault it. It was creepy, but magic, and just all in one. It was amazing. Everything that happened in and around Cabeswater was just so realistic. Like, I feel like it just kind of heightened everything. Like, the creepiness, the weirdness, the magic, the wonder. It was all just so real and sensual. Like, the feelings that the characters had, I don't know if they were just like heightened, like the panic that they sort of had, but also the intrigue. Like, I could feel it all, and I think that's just such a sign of such wonderful writing. Like, it was all so real to me, and I just loved it. And I think, again, that was another reason that I was so hooked into this story, because it all just felt so real. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about my big question at the end of this, and I have already spoken to a couple of people about this, so I do now kind of know the answer, but not the answer. And that is the sacrifice that Adam made. So obviously, Adam ventures into Cabeswater to make this sacrifice to wake the ley line. He finds Whelk there with Neve. Neve was going to sacrifice Whelk because she'd had the vision that the ley line was going to be woken anyway, and they didn't want it to be him. The sacrifice that Adam makes is so unclear. Like, clearly it's a self-sacrifice. He says he sacrifices himself, but his sacrifice was quite obviously nothing physical. It wasn't himself. He didn't die. He didn't like lose a limb. There was no physical sacrifice involved like there would have been in Neve's or Whelk's, because Neve was going to sacrifice her innocence by killing Whelk, and I think Whelk's sacrifice probably wouldn't have worked because he was just going to sacrifice Neve and he had like no connection to Neve or anything, so I don't think that would have actually worked and probably would have just been another failed sacrifice. But Adam's sacrifice was clearly something personal, something within himself, and I don't know what it was, and that's really bugging me. I know I've already said that I don't particularly like Adam, like there's something about him I don't like. But I don't know if maybe that's gonna change because of this sacrifice. Like, I think Blue said something like, I wrote it down, look at me being organised. His appearance unchanged, but still, there was something in his eyes. He hadn't changed, but he had. Like, the sacrifice had clearly done something to him, but nothing physical. So I'm really, really intrigued to know what the hell is going on there. And my immediate question was like, have I missed something? Have I just skipped a page or something? Like, what was his sacrifice? What's going on there? But I've been told that, like, that is a big part in future books. And I don't need to worry because that will be explored further, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, that played on my mind a little bit and I'm really intrigued to see how that unfolds and what, because he's now got like this connection with Cabe's water, you know? My camera overheated again. But yeah, Adam's now got this like connection with Cabe's water and I'm really, really intrigued to see how that all unfolds and what that means for the others and how that's going to maybe help or hinder them on this quest. And all in all, very intrigued, very excited. I need to hurry up and wrap this up because my camera's probably going to overheat again and I don't want to break it, but that sun seriously is like right on the camera and I don't want to like burn it, so it's overheated twice, so I need to wrap this up. Overall, the book was absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. I can't recommend it enough. Absolutely the biggest 5 stars I'm giving a book this year. As I say, I know it's only February, but holy crap, it was amazing. Can't wait to continue with the series. If you haven't read it, really please do. Please do, it's so good. Gonna leave it at that. If you've enjoyed this hopefully slightly more coherent book babble, please give it a thumbs up, chat to me down in the comments, and if you fancy subscribing, I'm always eternally grateful for that. Let me know if this has been slightly more coherent and if it makes more sense when I like actually write out a review. I feel like maybe it has, but I don't know. Let me know. I'll see you next time. Bye!